we're off.
Yeah, well.
No, I'm off because I'm opening these biscuits. I honestly, genuinely, I don't know what that'll do for the sound, but I am firing straight into.
Just make people jealous.
I know, Belgian white chocolate
cookie.
And a
sort of spoon to make
yes, some mellow birds. I'm fine just now.
Oh, wow.
So thank you, Horse, for joining us, and thank you for bringing cookies.
Oh, I know.
Belgian milk chocolate.
You've definitely gone to the top of the list of guests.
Thank you.
There we go. It's the first thing we've ever been given.
Yeah, I think it always makes people sweet, doesn't it?
It does.
And I love my food. So at the end of the day, you know.
And also, if you're hiding something that you don't want us to probe, that's a good kind of...
Have another biscuit.
So you're on tour at the moment.
I'm literally coming to the very last show, the culmination of the tour.
And you were saying it's a long story.
Yeah, very long story.
Time begin.
Oh, sure.
How long has the tour been on?
Over the whole course of it has been over March, April, May, June. So it's been over 3.5 months or something like that. But it's not consistently. There's 18 shows plus one extra in Edinburgh, so it's like 19 in total.
Where are you in Edinburgh? Queen's Hall?
Queen's Hall, yeah.
Great venue.
I like playing the Queen's Hall. But, I mean, basically, after lockdown, I mean, this tour has been transferred and rescheduled. Some of the shows 4 times.
Christine Bovill was saying the same.
Yep.
You know, and it's just thinking, you know, do we put an announcement out because they didn't, you know, we didn't know and all this kind of stuff.
Well, the other thing is I do everything for myself, so it was me having to reschedule every time. And if you can imagine, you've got shows as far down south as Brighton, and then shows as far up as Inverness.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're having shows that were, and I was like, no, scheduling it was a nightmare. But the psychology of it all was awful because for me, singing is my exercising of any demons or how I feel about things. So not being able to play live was destructive, really difficult over the COVID period. But then not worse than that, but equivalently as just as bad as that, going out on tour, I was expecting myself mentally and physically to do 2-3 shows in a row, 2 hours each night. And my voice really struggled. Now, some people know I'm a really big singer. You know, so you don't ask Pavarotti to do more than 2 or 3 songs. You know, I'm doing like 19, 21 songs every night, exhausted, lots of travelling. So by the time we got to London, which was our 9th show, I think, 8th or 9th show, I wasn't feeling great. I was tired. And we did London, went to the hotel, and about 4 o'clock in the morning, I had pains in my chest. I thought, no, this is fine. No, I'm fine. No, I'm going to be fine. And it got worse and worse. And I thought, and I was pacing about, and I was in a twin with Gemma, my keyboard player. And I thought, I don't want to disturb her. She's a little princess. She wears a little mask when she goes to bed. I thought, I don't want to disturb Gemma. Besides which, she chats more than me, so we didn't get to bed till 2. But anyhow, long story short, I phoned 111 because I thought I'm not going to phone 999. And at one point she's saying, so the pain, where is the pain? I said, it's right where my diaphragm is and up through my chest and radiating across. And when I said diaphragm, she said, so it's in your throat. And I was like, no. Anyhow, she said, where are you? And I said, the hotel. And she said, where's that? And I said, I actually I couldn't. The pain was so bad. I said, I can't, I don't know. And she went, can you? And so she moved on to me giving her more directions of what was wrong with me. And then I said, I actually got my phone out, Googled. I said, where am I? Here's the postcode. I thought, what the hell? Why couldn't you? Anyway, long story short, an ambulance eventually came for me. And I went to Charing Cross Hospital and I was there for 14 hours, different tests and things. But I was allowed out at the end of it because it wasn't my heart. I have a hiatus hernia, which had gone from my stomach up into my chest. Like, so
does hiatus mean travelling?
It's a sliding one I've got.
Right. Because I know that Terry Hatcher had a wandering spleen.
Yeah, I know it's...
What bits of your body can just...
Wandering spleen. So there's that going on and various other things. So what was fantastic was they gave me every test. I went out and we cancelled a couple of shows, Cardiff and Liverpool, which are now back in for November. But I came home and there an appointment for an MRI in London appeared. Right. And I thought, they're really being very thorough here. And I had that kind of moment of, will I go, will I not go? And I thought, do you know what? For me to get an appointment up here. So I'm glad I went. I went down to London one day and stayed over and came back up. And I've had all the results back. I've got my reports. I've actually got the imaging as well.
Wow. Photographic evidence.
Yep, everything. So I'm now on a fast track for consulting.
So what do they do about that then?
You can have keyhole surgery, which is supposed to repair it, but mine is a large one apparently.
4.
So
hello.
Whoever misses.
I know.
So are you still in pain? Is it a constant pain, or are you?
I'm supposed to not. There's things I'm not supposed to eat and drink, and for the first sort of 3 weeks afterwards, I was very, very careful, and it was great. I did feel better, but it affects. It's like anything. It's like you eat anything, it causes the acids go up.
Yep.
So that could have been a reason for any problems with my voice, because I lost some of my voice, various things.
And is it because you pushed yourself too much too quickly after?
Well, when you sing, you use your diaphragm. And it's not the female device, it's the physical band that it's underneath your ribs, and it's the sort of engine of your air going into your up through into your cords. So the diaphragm, I was using it considerably throughout because I sing properly. So I use my diaphragm consistently. So 2 hours singing, my diaphragm going up and down, and eating not very well. And eating late or not eating at all sometimes.
And the travelling, because everything's out of sync then, isn't
tired.
it? You're
it's very tiring. So I was actually putting myself under phenomenal pressure. All of the shows and all of the extreme physical work, it just completely hit me. And then the guys in the band are all laughing. They're going, "Well, we were fine." My keyboard player had ended up with shingles. My bass player had gout.
Very popular through lockdown. So many people got gout.
Well, she's got Meniere's disease, and it was the tablets that gave her it. So to give her nothing to do with alcohol.
What's Meniere's disease?
Meniere's affects the inner ear and your balance. And sometimes you just cannot.
Oh, like labyrinthitis.
Like that, right. but something that's not short term.
Oh wow!
She's got that forever. So yeah. Anyway, she got gout through the medication. So then we came back to from the English leg. We got back home, and I could hear the guy who's doing roadieing and stuff. I could hear him sniffling, and my guitarist sniffling. And I usually meet fans after shows. I'd go and chat with them for hours, and I haven't been doing it this time. And they were all, "Well, no, we're fine." I said, "Are you sniffing back there?" And they said, no. Well, the next day, we've got COVID. And I was like, oh my God, we all had COVID. Apart from my keyboard player, we all had COVID. So I had to cancel my Perth show. And that was another sort of like 14 days of not being well, lying in bed, not being well. I'm back out again, voice not quite right. And it really is only the last sort of 4 shows that my voice has come back. I was playing in Dundee last weekend, and it was just, I'm back.
Oh, lovely. What a nice feeling.
Well, for me, singing it's since I was a child, since I was a teenager, singing was a real way of venting things for me. Like a lot of people, I was attacked physically, mentally as I was growing up because of what I looked like. And I would go home and I'd sit and sing in my back bedroom, and that would be my comfort and my release. That's when I began to write songs. So for me, not being able to sing is
absolutely.
An absolute
well,
nightmare.
because it is that outpouring in that way of, it's a way of coping, isn't it?
Well,
I do the same with the laughter.
I mean, it's just I get great joy from it, and the audience get great joy from it. There was I've said this a few times in interviews. I mean, people shout all the time, not like get off or anything, but it's usually the thing is the audiences have been so excited to see us play. This album is the 30th anniversary, bleep bleep, 32nd anniversary, and the joy for people in that album, it was the backdrop to their lives, But there was a moment we were at Carnegie Hall, and it was just all going really, really well. And as you know, you're performing. It just suddenly goes into a sort of lull, natural lull when I'm not talking. It sort of goes into a little lull. And this voice sort of spoke up. And I've got in-ear monitors, and what did he say? He said something about, he said horse. And I'd been bemoaning the fact about, my usual, it's no fair. Here we are again, 30 odd years later. Now it's time. And this guy said, he said, "Horse, your music saved my life. You have no idea. You have absolutely no idea, Horse. So thank you." And the audience went, and I thought, what do I say to that? And I said, well, do you know what? When I was growing up, it was a gift to me to be able to sing and release all of this stuff that I had. And all that's happening is I'm paying it back. I'm giving it back. And friends of that guy messaged me and said, you've no idea how that difficult that was for him to speak up and important for him to say that. And it's just, I have this relationship with fans, which is not, it's like, it's not otherworldly, but it's like something is going on that I don't understand.
Do you think that's to do with the fact that you are, at the risk of me sounding like a tosser, completely authentic, and that comes out in your work in as much as you talk about your struggle? I mean, you're from Newport, aren't you?
I was born in Newport-on-Tay.
Born in Newport-on-Tay.
But I was brought up in a town called Lanark.
Right.
Which is right in the middle of top end of Lanarkshire.
Yeah, which
Valley.
Again isn't necessarily the most salubrious, forward-thinking, shall we say, for ladies of our persuasion, for want of a better. Yeah. So you do, and I know that people think it's a cliche, but you do carry around a lot. And when we were at school, there wasn't what there is now in terms of support. You know, there's still a long way to go, but there was bugger all back in the day. So if you're up there singing and people can see that as opposed to someone with choreography, backing tapes, a light show, costume changes, which is all fabulous, you know, all has its place. But if someone can see that naked authenticity and they can identify, it's like these people that always say, if I can reach one person, then I've done my job. I've
always thought that if I can reach just one person, but I'm finding more and more as time goes on.
A few.
I've reached quite a few people, and, you know, I hear the same thing. I say, oh, there was no one when I was growing up like me. There was no one for me, a role model, whatever. I'm hearing people like, there's a folk artist called Grace Petrie saying, there was no one like me when I was growing up. And this is a younger generation. And I'm thinking, well, all of us have been through that phase where there aren't enough people who are like you or who may be like you. That look like you, that maybe behave the same way as you.
I think it's the case that there are these people, but no one had the confidence to be visible, because I always remember being told in Dundee that there were benchmark homosexuals, right, growing up. One was a guy who I'm convinced was a mass murderer who used to work on the makeup counter in Arnott's called Brian Cavan. Then there was a guy, Robbie McNichol, and then it seemed to fall to me, if you see what I mean. And I remember being at different school events and people were like, oh, are you that half boy, half girl from Harris? So we've heard about this and we've heard about that. And that's what I'm saying, that anyone, because the amount of people that I met in my adult life who went, yeah, I was gay as well. And the thing is, it's not necessarily about being gay. It's about the adversity or overcoming the adversity, whatever that is. Whether
it's the difference, isn't it? People, especially at a younger age, are scared of people who are different from them.
I think that the sexuality in particular, and now gender, sexuality is something that's about, Mrs. a little bit risky, you know, and especially when we were growing up, you wouldn't really talk about sex, never mind
absolutely.
being interested in someone of the same sexuality as you. But, I had an interview with Matt Cain last week. I went to see him and had a chat with him. And he has the same story, that a lot of us have this same story where you're like the baton carrying person.
Yeah.
For someone like, in the music industry, there have always been characters who never were out, like your Elton Johns, like your George Michaels, not publicly, which made them safe, which made them all right. Jimmy Somerville and I, we were a bit like the Navies, the non-glamorous artists. And I used to feel slightly aggrieved about people like Elton John, like people like George Michael, because they didn't have to stand up there and suffer these things.
Deal with the heavy lifting.
And do you think, though, as well, that they were slightly disingenuous because the level of success they had, they wouldn't have lost it? Do you think they were
with hindsight,
coward?
You can say that. No, I wouldn't say that they're cowardly, because I can understand someone not wanting to be thrust into a position they can't control, because it's worse now than it ever was. But I know a couple of major artists who are gay. I'm not going to mention any names.
Okay, I'll admit it. It's me.
Singers.
But isn't that so sad?
I look at that and I go, your life must be... I don't see you... I cannot... Maybe I could be wrong, but in my opinion, if you're not yourself...
Yes.
How difficult must it be to conceal yourself the whole time?
I think it must be hellish.
It must be an awful way to live.
Because it's living a lie. It's also that thing of, you must be honest with some people, but you're not honest with other people. So the
fear of
conflict
exposure as well.
Yeah. But the conflict that must go on in your mind all the time. But yeah.
Well, look, Emily Sandé's just come out, right?
Yes.
And now I think that the way that she has come out, inverted commas, has been, it's just been a wee blip, you know, which is great because it's, you know, people have recognised her for the talent that she has, for the person that she is. But part of me is like, oh, you know, come on, I've been here all this time, you know, and I put a message up going, come on in, Sandy, Emily, the water's fine. But me as someone like Jimmy Somerville, who is now, you know, I mean, I continually have to flag myself up because you go missing in action because you're not controversial.
Yeah.
You know, your time has come and gone. But the other thing that's happening for me, there was the fact that I was a lesbian. Secondly, I was a woman. And thirdly, the thing that's happening to me now is age.
Yeah. Hi, hello. I hear you.
Well, all of us. I mean, you know, and there's a lot of ageism, you know, and favoritism towards the youth or whatever. And so for me, what I'm doing now is like, here I am all these years later. I sing better than I ever did. I'm working on my new album. And this is my time. It should have been 30 years ago, but Absolutely. It's my time now.
But the fact that you have stuck your head above the parapet and the frustration that people haven't followed necessarily, but also it's exhausting to have to keep doing it.
I know, totally.
The point with you saying about, well, use Philip Schofield as an example. Maybe he wasn't capable of having his head above the parapet. You have to remember, now I'm not saying, I think it's up to the individual. Personally, I never came out, right? I never came out because everyone knew. You know, my mum, I mean, God, she's 81 and she's still, and you're like, I used to do Tootsie for you with a biscuit tin on my head on a Saturday night because you had a late child. That isn't normal for young boys that like football, if you see what I mean. But the fact of the matter is that not everyone in it has, I'm not saying it's right, but they don't have the thick skin. And also as well, a lot of people are like, oh, I could do that or I could have the career. And that's very appealing to a lot of people, if you see what I mean.
I think I'm not against people concealing themselves. No. I just cannot understand. The phrase that I use is, we've got a song, Never Not Going To, and I always say that I could never not be myself.
No.
I've struggled. I never tried to conceal myself because I could not be anything else. But there are people who are the other way around, you know, and like we said, it must be hard.
That's one of the reasons Bruce and I get on so well, and one of the things we talk about a lot is that because we can't help but be anything but ourselves, and that can sometimes, you know, rattle people or make people uncomfortable, and people sometimes would just like us just to not be ourselves.
But the funny thing is, and going back to the gay thing, which we will move on. And it's interesting. So I have a niece and nephew who I'm very close with, and particularly my niece. And she was telling me about a conversation that she had at work, and it was this girl in her office, and she went, "Oh, you were saying that you were at your uncle. Does he have a girlfriend?" And my niece just burst out laughing. She went, "My uncle is the type of gentleman that will never take a wife." And everyone else in the office got it because we'd been at a Steps concert, so you kind of think, fill in the blanks, flower. But it was so interesting growing up because my niece and nephew used to come through, and it was me and my partner and the dog, and we used to take them to 24-hour Asda with the pajamas on to get pizzas in the middle of the night, and they loved all
fabulous.
That. And it was the fact that I remember, because we see each other all the time, we go drinking and all that kind of stuff, and we do other things. Tonight we're going to Body Pump. That's how diverse we are as an uncle and niece. But she always said, I always knew, and it never bothered me. And she said, I remember friends asking me, do you think? And she said, no, I don't think, I know. And he's my uncle. What does it matter? And I think, unfortunately, societally, which I love saying because it makes me sound intelligent, I don't think a lot of people are, like, I always knew I was, and I never thought I could be anything else. And I've never had a problem with that. It's always other people that have had the problem. But
don't you think, though, sometimes there are some people who are gay who have they've got internalized homophobia, where they've taken on the mantle of this is wrong, and they can't get rid of that themselves. It's like the fact that people find it hard to come out to their parents, for example, because they're afraid of what they're going to say. But when the parents are like, well, we always knew,
But then you don't come out as a heterosexual. You never came down the stairs
No.
and said to your mum, I'm a heterosexual. And it's interesting what you talk about, internalised homophobia, because I can be a bit homophobic because of the way some people, and I'm talking, thank you, some people, sorry, she needs handling, / put down. But it is that thing that I wouldn't want to. And based on what we've discussed today, she keeps an ashtray in her pocket, we'll move on, she's manky. But the fact of the matter is, now I've lost my point because you've ruined it all for attention. But, oh, for God's sake.
Not having to come down the stairs and announce you're
No.
You didn't have to say that you were heterosexual.
No. It wasn't that. It was about being homophobic. Thank you. Feel free to edit her out of my life. I am, because of the way some people play that. Like, I have friends and they're younger than, and they're quite heterophobic. Why are they in here? And you're like, whoa, that has to stop. And
But see, I identify with what you're talking about because I think a lot of people presume that the greatest part of my audience is gay.
no.
Actually, the greatest part of my audience is a lot of men, a lot of couples who are straight, and what is like maybe the average in this country, 20% are maybe gay. It also depends where I am.
One of
but
your
Scotland, they're mostly
biggest fans in Scotland is a guy called Jim Hendry, who you met in my house, and he lives in Newport-on-Tay, and he was so excited because me, his wife, my sister-in-law, and my niece, we have we're called the Biancas because they want to go and see Mary Mac and drag. It's a long story. Well, it's actually, that was a very short story. He was like, oh, I can't believe that you get an interview. And I said, but Jim, you met her in the house. And I know, where were you at the rep in Dundee?
We played at Dundee.
Yeah. So they were there, and he, 2 kids, wife, all that kind of stuff. And I think people assume just because you happen to be that's your MO or that's your fan base or whatever.
Well, it's funny when I first started to perform, I was like the typical person performer. I was like, I would have my guitar, or I'd be standing with my mic, hand holding the microphone and standing hugging the microphone. Now, I can only describe it as being Christ-like. Sort of, my arms are open wide, and I'm very open with the audience. And the first thing that comes into my head, I say it. I talk very openly with them, and I'll do silly asides like I said. I'm actually a lesbian. and things like that. And everyone laughs because anyone in that audience, man, woman, straight, gay, would punch somebody if they thought they were going to hurt me because they've got my back. Because what happens in the audience is I'm performing as a human being with all the emotions and the passions and joy, sadness, hurt, and they have empathy with it. It's like when I did the play. There was a play that I did, I wrote with Lynn Ferguson. It's called Careful. And I think people presumed it would be me, chat, sing a wee song, chat. No, it was major things that happened in my life. And I think people were completely, blown away. And they had empathy, not for someone who was gay. It was about someone trying to find their voice, which is a human thing. And
it's a survival thing as well.
Totally.
And I think a lot of people identify with that. And I think if you come from a marginalised background, whatever that is, it can be being a woman in some cases, it can be your ethnicity, it can be your sexuality. If you have had to, you'll know that, go through life, again, in the face of adversity, people identify with struggle.
But 100%. And it is that emotional thing when you were saying about that guy saying, the horse, you saved my life. And it's when you make that connection with somebody on an emotional level, and just that's the joy, weirdly, of going through a struggle, is knowing that your emotional struggle can help other people's.
But I also think that just being yourself and reaching out to people, the more I do it, the more that people receive me and they don't care. They don't give a shit who I am. And it's been a struggle to get to this point musically, but I feel like I'm this album that I'm working on just now, it feels like I'm ready. I've been telling this story years ago. Our tour manager was John Witherspoon, and our sound man was a guy called Mark Hawley. And I'd lost touch with him after he stopped working with us. And then he became Tori Amos's manager. And Mark Hawley married her. The sound man married her. And the first time I met Tori, I was the advantage is I get to meet Tori Amos every time she's up, of course, and Spoon and Mark. But when I first met her, I was chatting, and I was giving it the old bloody moany mini. It's no fair, You've got John now, and you've got Mark, and and she was just sitting looking at me. And before I left the room, she hugged me. I can almost feel the saliva in me as she said, "When it's your turn, don't be afraid to take it."
Oh,
and I was like, "Oh, what does she mean?" And now I understand, because I'm ready. I was never ready. Mm-hmm. I was afraid of what would happen to me. I stuck with the band. I should probably have moved on. So many different things that I've stuck with what other people wanted to do. And that's my turning around. I'm doing what I want to do fully now. And I saw Tori Amos about a month ago when one of the first shows she did was in Glasgow, and I went to see her.
She lives in the UK, doesn't she?
Between Cornwall and I think New York.
Right.
But they've got a lovely place in Cornwall. Big studio. Anyway, I said, I don't suppose you remember you saying to me this. And I said to her, and she went, no. And I said, well, I'm ready, Tori. And she went, you go, girl.
Oh,
and I was
very Ricky Lake.
That's the other thing that you find out quite often, is that people have said something, or I've said something to people, and they don't remember saying it, but it has such an impact.
A big impact in people, totally.
And I do think as well, on that sort of emotional connection level, and it's this is my theory, but I'm sticking with it. Sometimes I meet people that I'm not emotionally connected with, and I realise and they've not been through enough shit. And sometimes I think people need to go through shit in order to emotionally connect with the world.
But the life lesson I'm at the moment is, it doesn't matter how bad the relationship. It does matter the bad relationship you're in. However, it's how you deal with it, how you respond to it. So I've been through 3 very difficult relationships and out now, thankfully. And I'm now going, well, they were horrible, but why on earth did I put up with that?
Yeah.
And that's
it's
where
familiarity. And I think the unfortunate thing is, I remember it was...
And we always think we can change people.
I'm talking.
Sorry.
It was Eamon Holmes that actually said to me, he said, humans will hang on to anything, even if it hurts them or holds them back, because it's familiar and they can identify that. And I remember speaking to Karen Dunbar last year. She'd done a documentary that I was in, and then I was cut. And she was talking about the fact that, I think, is she 50 this year or something? Or I was 50 last year. And it's the first time that she's been on her own properly.
Yeah.
And she can devote this time to herself and find out actually who she is. She's much more than just a pair of nostrils that was on a Friday night, for all those years, if you see what I mean. So is that where you think you are with your life?
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying you were ever a pair of nostrils.
No.
And they are beautiful, by the way. They're flaring away.
I was just literally in touch with Karen today. I think people's perception of you, it doesn't matter what it is. You have to have a hold of your own perception of yourself, because you can get lost. For years it was like, there's Horse, cult lesbian singer-songwriter from Lanark. That was my tagline. But you didn't see Elton John, gay guy from, you didn't see any of that stuff. But Jimmy Somerville was the gay boy from Maryhill. We seem to get these tags. So we took up that, that was our thing, what is it you call it, unique? What was it? USP, unique selling point. And you're like, no matter where I went, whatever I did, I would do an interview with somebody, go, okay, we'll put you in the gay section. Now, no disrespect to gay people. Yeah. I am one. But let's face it, I want to be recognised
as an artist,
globally, as an artist,
But the idea of living up to other people's perspective of you, and I'm guilty of that. I live up to other people's perspective because we both do. Sorry, of the drunken kind of, vicious drunken, people think we're rude and all this kind of stuff. And we are, but that...
But for me to go on a stage, this is something I've realised recently. I go on a stage, I become Horse, the singer, and I sort of step onto that stage and I pretend I'm a global superstar. Now, people think I'm okay, obviously, but in my own head, I am a superstar, and I go out there and I become this larger than life personality. I'm not really much different when I go off stage, but to actually be up there and saying to people, look at me, when part of me is going, don't look at me. Look at my tire, it's got bigger. Look at my love muffins. It's like, don't look, you're going, look at me, don't look at me. But when I'm up there, I'm completely confident and in control, and it's just such an amazing place to be. So I myself have to enact something to be able to do that.
So how does a lesbian from Lanark end up with Tina Turner, another survivor?
Oh.
Well, do you know what? There's a real funny story attached to Tina Turner, and probably one of my worst Jimmy moments in my life. There's two things with Tina Turner. Our German label, her boyfriend, who the guy was in charge of EMI Electrola in Germany, and first time I shook his hand, he nearly broke it. It's just really big chap, and we got the offer to open for Tina Turner because obviously it was his girlfriend, now his wife. So we got to do that tour, and for us it was like, oh my God, a couple of wee people from Glasgow, oh my God, touring with a global superstar. And it was hard because you're playing to tens of thousands of people, and you've gone from clubs of 400, 500 at the most, because we toured with BB King as well before this. So anyway, one of this, I don't know where we were, but I like to do things properly, and I thought, I can't keep going on stage every night talking to all these German people in a broad Scots accent. I must try and say something to them. So in my best German accent, I walked out into tens of thousands of people and Entschuldigung, mein Deutsch ist scheiße. Which means, excuse me, my German is shite.
Yeah.
But they all began to boo. And I thought, what have I said?
Oh, no.
And it was only afterwards they're going, oh, raus, no, Tina, raus. And I was like, what the hell have I said? I realised what they must have heard was, Entschuldigung, Deutsch ist scheiße.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me, Germany is shite. So I never tried it again, but that was one of my worst things with Tina Turner. The absolutely worst thing was I was desperate to meet her, and I never met her. I never met her the whole time. And then maybe 4 months later, we were in the States doing promo stuff. And there was myself, George, guitarist, and Angela, fellow songwriter. And we were doing these sort of interviews. It was just like a big telephone, basically, with buttons on it. And it was like we were talking to different press. And this guy's, hey, you guys, you get to meet Tina? And I was just about to go, no, when both of them chipped in. Yeah, a couple of times I was like, what? How did you meet her? Well, apparently she came into the dressing room several times. So when she was coming into the dressing room, I was looking for her. I was wandering around the corridors looking for her.
You weren't present in your own moment.
Wow.
Oh.
So lesson learned.
Be present in the moment and you'll meet Tina.
Stay in your own dressing room.
Stay in your own dressing room. Wow.
And the star will come to you.
You know that there is an act in London called Tina Turner Tea Lady.
No.
So I can hook you up if that would do. If that would do.
I've met
and have you still never met her?
No. I've met a looky-likey Shirley Bassey, which was fun.
Haven't we all, love? Get out my bed.
Oh, God. Oh, dear. So, I mean, that is, I come from a place where I'm just a wee daft, I'm a daft fangirl, and I just adore certain artists. And, I got to meet various different people. I've managed to get tickets for Barry Manilow next.
My
week.
sister and niece are going.
Yeah. I want to say, don't want to say too much, but we do one of her songs in the set. I don't do covers, but there's a special moment, and I was keen to see it anyway. I've got tickets to go and see Barry Manilow, so we'll watch the space, see if I can getting to have a photo taken with him.
Do you enjoy going to see other people? And when because I have a friend who's a singer, no names, Michelle, and I remember she went to see Celine Dion, and
I was at the same concert.
Were you? And I said, so are you looking forward to it, Michelle? I said, because how do you feel about seeing a woman that's made her living from touring arenas and holding a tune? And she went, it was absolutely terrible. I got recognised and I had to leave. So apparently she got mobbed. Well, yeah, apparently I could. Yeah. So, do you ever have those experiences where you're recognised and that kind of ruins the night?
It happens quite a lot. It's like because I've got quite a long sort of. So who did I go and see? somebody got me tickets to see Texas, and I went in this other door, and there was a family in front of me, and this man was just standing with his mouth wide open, and he's going, "Oh my God, is it you?" And I'm going, "It is me." Horse, oh my God. Oh my God. And his wife's going, he's such a big fan. And I was like, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. He said, oh my God. Oh. I said, so you're coming to see Texas, you're coming to see Charlene, you're coming to see me in a couple of weeks' time. He was like, oh, where are you playing?
No.
Like, yeah, so I had to sort of tell him where I was. But anyway, we ended up with a photograph being taken. But people do have quite shrieky. And it's usually men, actually. They're all shrieky. Oh, my God, it's Horse. Oh. And I'm like, to me, that's a big compliment. Yeah. I mean, my previous guitarist, Gordon, whenever we were travelling and we'd be on a plane, somebody goes, oh, I said, every time, no matter where we go, there's always somebody recognises Horse. We came back from Australia and we were walking through the airport, and this whole family like, oh, my God, it's Horse. And he's like, oh, here we go again, you know. But it's not being mobbed, being recognised is, I think it's a really amazing thing, you know. I think I'm really grateful for people recognising me and in such a really excited way. I
was recognised at Steps in Aberdeen, but it was by someone that works in my father's care home.
Oh, lovely.
So it's for different reasons. But I know it's nice to be recognised. She went, oh my God, it's Brian's son. I went, shh, could you keep that quiet? No photos.
But do you find it odd in as much as you're just, you're just you when you're you, that do you find it odd that people have a different...
The way I react to people is I'm just myself with people. So I think, I was going to say, it's a double-edged sword. When I'm singing and performing, it's like these are my pals.
Yeah.
I chat as if we know each other. So they then assume that we sort of know each other. So their reaction to me is like, this is somebody they know.
Yeah. Yes,
I'm not a stranger to them because they've been to shows. Because anybody that's bought records has undoubtedly been to see a show, so they recognise me as the person that chats to them.
Yeah.
And I mean, one woman said, "Oh, I was really ill, so I didn't stay behind to have my usual chat with you." And I thought, I'm not even chatting to fans just now. What do you mean? But yeah, I think it's something that
Lorraine was saying that we had her on the other week, and she was just saying that she thinks it's lovely that people will come up in the supermarket and all that kind of stuff. Lorraine's been in one of your videos, hasn't she?
She has, yes. Yeah. Something wicked.
And she is with a drink in her. Oh, nasty.
I know, Lorraine. I stayed down there a few weeks ago when I was in hospital. I stayed down there, but to me, she's someone I feel a wee bit protective of her because she came to she's been to a few of my shows, but one of the smaller ones, an acoustic one I was doing in Dundee, she came along with Steve, and there was people outside. I saw her. She ran back to say hello before she set off, and I heard her downstairs, and a wee crowd gathered, and she stood and she chatted to them, and I'd taken a great care to make sure that there was security, kind of brought her in somewhere so it wouldn't cause a stir for her and all that stuff. But you're right, she doesn't bother.
No.
But Steve will bother. Steve will sort of steer her away and keep her, because she's not changed.
No.
And I think, like you say, that people, see Lorraine as her pal, and, so...
But she would be, though.
Yeah, 100%.
But you can't, there's too many people for her. There's too many people, so...
And you can't get round to everyone.
No.
And sometimes you just want to get to where you're going.
Sometimes you just want to nip in the supermarket, buy a pint of milk and get out.
Well, see, when I go, I haven't this tour, I haven't met fans afterwards. I always like to say hello to them. And, from a practical level, it's difficult. I'm tired. The last Queen's Hall show we did, November 2019, was the first Same Sky show, and then we never went out again. But, that queue took me an hour and a half to get through. And I was exhausted, absolutely exhausted, because they want to stand and chat to you.
Yeah.
But I can't do that. The audience at Theatre Royal on Sunday, I thought maybe I could just sort of come down and say a quick hello, but I'm thinking, no, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I might be mobbed. But that's a massive audience, so I don't know how I can cope with that. So, I don't know how you manage that. I know that people like Katie Langer, whether they charge 150, 250, 300 pounds to say hello to them afterwards. That doesn't sit easily with me.
That makes me feel queasy, the very idea.
That doesn't sit easily with me at all. But how on earth do you police it or choose who gets to see you? So it's a bit hard.
I think that's the reason they do it, because they can basically say, right, there's a ticket, by the way, your cattle. And I say, perfectly up to the individual. More for you for paying for it, as I see. It was really interesting. I went to see Bianca Del Rio when she was in Edinburgh, and she'd done a meet and greet in the beginning. Now, this was interesting because what she did with the meet and greet people, who, by the way, have paid however many hundreds of pounds to see her, could you write down a question for the last part of the show? So the last 15 minutes of her show, no offence, Bianca, but it was a disgrace. Love you. Was the questions. And it's like, oh my God, not only have they bought a ticket, but they've paid a premium fee, and now they're writing your material with no money. That was like someone to me the other day that shall remain nameless, whatever. Could you just give me a couple of your one-liners? And I said, well, absolutely not. I don't have any. And can you stop giving away stuff for free on Instagram?
But is that a thing as well? Do you know that when people create that mystery... Well, shut up. When people create that mystery that you're kind of elusive, that then people kind of... That creates that huge celebrity because people kind of get... obsessive. Whereas if you're too accessible, then people take you for granted.
I think, because if you think about when Madonna was famous, right? And I'm talking 1990, Blonde Ambition, really the most famous woman in the world, and no one could get near her, right? People are prepared to pay anything to be near the famous person because they want it for a picture. It comes back to everything has to be digitized. They need proof. And if they, you hear people... homos are the worst for it, right? They're on the train going to London and their heads are like that. First class, I'm in the first class, but we're in the lounge. And you're like, yeah, you're wearing your Louboutins, aren't you? You good little poof, well done. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we're in the lounge. We got an upgrade. How did you get an upgrade on a flight to London? You maybe got fingered in the toilet. You didn't get an upgrade. Like, stop it. But that's the whole thing that people do. And it's to make out as though that they're doing better. I don't think... famous people are bothered about mystique anymore. I think they're just like, if you're willing to pay 300 quid, give me your money. But
that's a race to the bottom, and I hate the idea that then that puts more division and the thing between...
For someone in the arts, you hate them.
but just between... Well, it's just, again, it's pandering to people who can afford to pay the money to meet somebody. But that's the way the world is, and you can't change that. Well, it makes me sick.
It's the knife edge that I'm on at the moment because the audience numbers are going up and up.
Yeah.
And it's not practical for me to do a 2-hour show.
No, and then meet people and ingest.
No, absolutely.
And also, besides which, when you're touring with the band, etc., it's so nice to the show to come down and just take a deep breath and settle down with the band. It's like a family. We're like a family. And I've been able to do that this time. Whereas ordinarily it's like, right, I need to go and do merch. Sorry, guys. Yeah. And then I don't see them. And it's... We're kind of united that way. Yeah. So I just don't know how to manage it. That doesn't sit easily with me to charge people money. My ticket prices have only just started to go up now. They've been pretty much the same price for years because I go, oh, could I afford that? Instead of going, how much does it cost to put this tour on?
Absolutely.
How much does it cost to do the show?
Do you think that's a Scottish thing though? I genuinely think that's a lot to do with, like, I can remember, my mum saying things like, you're no better than you ought to be, and, don't stick your head above the parapet and don't do this. Whereas if you were, say you were someone from America and you had a manager and they'd be like, that bitch, you're not paying, $10 at the Roxy, no, $100. And all that decision making is made for you.
There is a kind of, if you charge not enough or not very much, there's a kind of... it's almost a judgment, almost. If you charge more, if you charge a lot
it's
more,
cheap, it must be shit.
I was asked to go and talk about Adele charging more money for tickets, etc. And I actually looked into it, and she charges the same as Elton John. And the music industry has changed because the pyramid of which she's the top of has got bigger. So you've got more feeders, so record companies have been added to live shows now. There's 360 degree deals where someone is completely tied in, 360 degree. Madonna was tied into one of those where they get her merchandise. They get...
Is that with Live Nation?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because then she was just getting a flat fee for turning.
It's a buyout, yeah. And so what happens is people go, oh my God. So it all comes down to the person that pays for it is the person buying the ticket. But people are going, why is it so much? Why is Adele charging? I can't remember. Was it 700 quid?
Something.
I can't remember that. But I went and looked and Elton John was charging 700 quid. And I'm thinking, okay, why is that? It's like, it's because she's at that stage. Who does she think she is?
Oh, she's
She's just this daft lassie from Essex or somewhere, and there's that. Whereas Elton John's just gone past all of that.
But Elton John's kind of turned into Liza Minnelli in the fact that he can no longer sing.
It's awful.
Did you not watch one of those lockdown? And he was like screaming and straining, and you thought you're about to kick yourself. It was horrible.
Paul McCartney's headlining Glastonbury, and he's 80
He can't sing.
and he can't sing. He's headlining Glastonbury.
Yeah, Paul Young has had so many. Elton John's the reason he can't sing is he had so many operations on his vocal cords. I've had one.
Julie
I've had
Andrews.
one, and I've still got a scar. Well, she had during her operation. They actually made a mistake, and that's so.
No!
Yeah, I lost her voice through that. I just can't picture anything worse. But I mean, Elton John's had a few operations now, and what it does is it scars your cords. So Paul Young, don't ever go and listen to Paul Young. I mean, no disrespect, Paul, but he just can't sing anymore.
But that's the thing, and that's honest and it's true. And because, again, people don't like to say that. Same with money, people don't like to mention
Bennett
it.
is 80.
Oh, that needs to stop.
Well,
and I don't
he's
care if
85.
Gaga's involved.
No, he's 85. I went to see him, and he can still sing. He can still sing, but he sings a verse, bridge, chorus. Next song, verse, bridge, chorus. His band are on for about an hour and a half before him. But I went to see him because I thought I want to see Tony Bennett. I went to see Salon Delon because I think as a singer, she's a singer, and I went to because I obviously went the same one as Michelle. I went to see it because I thought I want to see her sing as a singer because she is incredible, an incredibly talented singer. I don't care about all the other nonsense that comes along with it. So I went to see that as a singer. And I just thought it was incredible, So, I mean, I went to see Nureyev. I saw him, I think that might even have been at the Theatre Royal. It might have been. I went to see him because he was Nureyev. And I think there are people who have got so far and they're icons that I think people will pay to go to the ends of the earth to see someone.
It's like Madonna. We were talking about Madonna with someone else.
I don't know what's happened to Madonna.
No, neither do I. I mean, and that is their journey, by the way. But the fact of the matter was that in the 80s and early 90s, she could carry a tune. She could sing that, and that's gone now.
I think she's an incredible writer. I think that bothers me that she's never been recognised as a writer. Whether they're co-writes or not means nothing, because I think Liam Gallagher was going on and on about
Swift.
Yeah, putting Taylor Swift down because she co-wrote with somebody, but she wrote. I mean, my first album, Same Skies, me and Angela, most of the songs are co-writes. People don't give a monkeys, basically. Is it a good song? Ed Sheeran wrote with Amy Wadge and that first album, and she's now been writing. She wrote the song with Astronaut with the Eurovision entry. She co-wrote that.
But did Liam Gallagher not have a bit of a cheek? Were they not sued by Gary Glitter, of all people, for stealing material?
God, you're on a theme today, aren't you?
But Gary Glitter actually, I don't think did he ever do any writing? I don't know.
I think that's the least of it, and I'd like this edited out the podcast.
No, but Liam, the
Dolphin
Oasis
Hotel.
were quite often accused of plagiarising.
There's a lot of plagiarism. I would think it'd be more likely to be the Beatles that they plagiarised, especially the string arrangements that are on their music. But it's a bit pompous, really.
Well, you just kind of think you're a man of a certain age, and are you relevant? Are you no longer relevant, etc.? And why are you having a go at someone that is at the peak, probably, of her powers and having a great time? And people love her, Taylor.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's somebody sitting on their ivory tower shouting at people. When was the last time you had a successful record?
Exactly.
I mean, because I think everyone's got different taste. And, just because, you don't like that person's music doesn't mean to say that it's not good. It's just that you don't like it. And I think music that's created these days, the only bugbear I would have is certainly younger artists coming up. They all sing with the same voice, and it sounds like they come from Garl. Their voice goes down the back of the throat, and I don't understand what's happening.
Do you mean Cher?
No, whom I've been compared to many times. No, that's
Whoa.
I've been compared to her a few times, but no, it's a thing that's people often say to me, "Oh, what would you say to people? What advice would you give to people?" The one piece of advice is try and find out who you are, not follow the latest trend or try to sound like that person, because record companies, Spotify, they use algorithms, and what they do is they're looking for something that's successful. And all they're doing is recreating what already exists. And it's taken me years to have a voice that just sounds like me. I don't sound like anyone else.
Someone who had a very distinctive voice, and I think walked away was Billy Mackenzie when he got in that taxi
God,
from
I adored his voice.
Yeah, and I just don't think that the world was ready for his voice because there was the ambiguity about gender, sexuality, all that kind of stuff. In the same way, you forget what a great lyricist, writer, and vocalist Boy George is.
Yeah. But I think he's been through his journey, and he always was outspoken. But you know, nothing phases him. He will say what he thinks. He's a much more chilled character, because I'm good friends with Helen Terry that used to sing.
Does she live in Perth?
She lives in Callander.
Yes.
Yeah, I've known Helen for years.
Because she was backing vocals on Church of the Poison Mind. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that from experience. I've Googled.
She is.
Before
I met them. I met George, and I met Helen and the rest of the band at Rooftops in Glasgow in 1982.
Wow.
Where we were opening for them, and they had just gone to #1 with "Do You Really Want to Hurt Me?" And Helen was moaning. She was going, he said, "You won't let me keep my outfit." She was like that. She's pissed off because they wouldn't let her keep her outfit, which was a bit weird.
Is she Scottish?
No, she's. I think she's from Essex. She's from England anyway, south of England. And we did 2 shows that day, and then she was a producer on Motormouth, and I met her for that at that. I distinctly remember it was one of my first experiences of realising that the audience were closer than I kind of had taken into consideration. So I was like on the stage singing away, and I felt this thing in my foot, and I was like, some week, because the afternoon was the matinee for kids, and I felt someone stuck their finger. I had a hole in my shoe, and they were sticking their finger. They were leaning across the stage and sticking their finger in the hole in my shoe, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, there goes the myth that people on stage are untouchable."
Oh my God, we've gone from train toilets to shoe fingering. This we've really plumbed the depths. How niche.
I know. But you know, I mean, that is where you learn your trade in front of an audience. I think there's a real missing element from music today where everyone expects to get something for nothing. So they see this music, they expect to get it for free. And they don't appreciate the time and the effort to making a piece of music. But they feel it belongs to them. Again, with that Adele question, she actually wanted the shuffle button removed from Spotify for her new album, which is her prerogative. And anyway, if you pay your money, you can put it in whatever order you want, really. So it was just a bit of ridiculous thing. This is for people who get their stuff for free. And the BBC said, "Oh, you want to comment on this? We'll call you and ask you to comment." And I like to do wee homework so I don't sound stupid. So I looked at it, and I looked on this Twitter feed, and this girl came in and she went, "How dare Adele tell me what to do with my music?" And I'm like, "Hello, it's her fucking music, love." And that's what I mean. There's a missing element for people. They've grown up getting stuff. They want something, they can have it for free. They don't have to pay for anything. This is not this is the music is theirs. They can have it if they want it. They don't understand, you know, the whole development of something.
They don't understand the process.
No, but they also expect it for free.
Yeah.
And they don't. It's like people's. Intellectual property. That's the thing that's sort of missing from life. It's like, you know, I want it, I can have it.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's what I say, that the reason I hate people is because largely they're stupid and selfish. Have you got 2 dates left?
Well, literally just this weekend. I don't know when you're going out, but Sunday is at the Theatre Royal, and then there's one other show at Queen's Hall, which is a best of the best. Because
and when is that?
Queen's Hall is the 24th of June.
Right.
And it's pretty much as many sort of top horse songs. Just to not lay everything to rest, but I've done 25th anniversary of it. So this is the first album I'm talking about. The second album's 30th anniversary is next year. you know, so.
And
so
are you going to
basically,
film it? Are you going to film
there
it?
is a
capture
DVD
it?
of the Queen's Hall from the Same Sky show. There is a DVD for that. I am going to film the best of the best at Queen's Hall again. But it's time to move on because I've got new music. I've been working on a new album. And there's a single out just now called Leaving. And there was the single out, and then I did a radio mix for the first time ever. Broke my piggy bank open, and it's been mixed by a guy called Soren Andersen. And to quote Soren Andersen, it's a banger, Horse. It's a banger. He's from Norway.
Who's he remixed? Because I'd recognise that name.
Amy McDonald. He's mixed loads of people. He does radio. He specialises in radio mixes. But he's done a great mix of the track Leaving. Leaving is my FU song.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's an empowering song. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. My song, yes.
Do you think with, as you say, the anniversary, you'll do a Kylie and collaborate with Magnum in the way that she has done on Can't Get You Out of My Head?
I remember.
And get Peggy Goo to remix it.
Oh, God. I saw the two of them in a feature a couple of days ago on an Instagram thing of both of them
They
dancing.
were at Cannes, yeah.
So, yes, it was, yeah.
Whereas we've got Largs.
I like Largs. I'm a big fan
Always
of
love
Largs.
Largs.
To say. I like going for a walk down there.
I've had a bad experience and it wasn't to do with a seagull, but we'll move on. We'll move on. Horse, it has been amazing talking
It's
to
been
you.
great talking to you. I could talk about anything, me.
But you just have been so honest.
Yeah.
So it's good to know that. Would you say that this period that you're in, before we go, is one of the better periods that you've experienced?
Yes, I think so. I think I'm really getting to know myself. So not only have I got my voice back, I'm actually going to use it. I think this is the thing that you don't.
Because you do seem different and in a great way from the last time that I saw you. You don't seem flustered. You seem very chilled.
No, I'm very chilled. I just can't wait to get on with things.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I'd say is like after 2 years of lockdown, being physically not doing, although I did walk for miles and miles, but really just not moving, even just mentally not moving.
Yeah.
So suddenly all of us are expected to get back up to the speed we were at before. I think I'm realising, I can't do it physically or mentally. I need to look after myself more and enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
And be present.
And be present.
And be in the dressing room because you never know who's going to turn up.
True.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's a
Horse.
pleasure.
Lovely.
Thank you,
It's a
Doll.
pleasure.
And thank you for the biscuits.
That's all right.
Nancy, get the kettle on. See you, Vuli.
I'm going for a fag.
Oh, there's a surprise. Goodness. You know, we've just had music royalty in, but no, get that pocket ashtray out. You tramp. Thanks, Horse.
Honestly, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
The thing with me is you just got to stop me talking.
Oh, the thing with Jojo, you've got to stop her smoking.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's never going to happen. So, right. Oof.
Cheers.